In this video, I'll explain the simplified assault procedure used in version 2 of the Rifle and Spade series. I'm using playtest materials from Mons 1914, the Mad Minute, but this can equally be used with Gallipoli 1915, Churchill's Greatest Gamble. I'll be releasing an upgrade kit for that soon that people can test with. The only change between version 1 and version 2 is actually in the table calculating the assault shifts. In Gallipoli in version 1, it was unfortunately a fairly complicated table. Now in Mons, it is just 1 or 2 shifts, which you can see in the bottom left-hand corner. Gallipoli will also have the same small table, but it'll be slightly different because they've got different terrain types in the two battles. So, assault occurs during movement. In fact, for any particular stack, it's the last thing they do. The actual assault sequence is laid out here in the charts and tables, so you don't have to go digging through the rules to find it. So let's assume we have a weakened British half battalion defending in farmland being assaulted by a complete German battalion, all 4 steps. So the Germans move up, 1 movement point. They've now triggered opportunity fire. So I won't go through the opportunity fire in complete detail because that was covered in the last video, but just briefly, we have 1 point firing and the Germans are moving, so that's -3. There are 4 steps, so on the target density that's -2 because it's infantry firing, so the net is -5. Looking on the fire display table, 1 point firing at -5, we need 26. We roll, and the red dice, the fire dice, 35 is a miss, and we also roll the morale at the same time, 49 for the morale, which is less than the Germans' morale of 80, so they pass. At this point, the actual movement stops and we move to movement to assault. The first thing that the Germans do is they spend 1 officer point. Next, they make a morale check. And again, we roll the black dice and we get 30, which is less than 80, so in they go. So we move them in. Now, again, this triggers opportunity fire. This time it's at range 2. Range 0, so the British fire is doubled. So they have 2 fire points. Otherwise, the hexide, their movement and the target density are the same, but they are in farmland. So if that changes the net DRM down to -4. 2 points at -4, we're looking for 44s for a hit. And the British got 23, and the morale check for that is 80. So 23 is a hit. We flip the Germans. Their morale, they always use the best in the stack. They have an 80, so they pass. So now we put an assault marker on top. Now the key thing with having an assault marker placed is, this German unit's movement is now finished. The Germans do the rest of their movement, and then we come back and resolve the assaults in order. With assault marker placed in a hex, all the units in that hex cannot fire out, so they've lost their ability to do opportunity fire adjacent, which means that the friends of that German unit in here could march past without triggering opportunity fire. That's very important if you're trying to penetrate a position. That shows up quite a lot in Gallipoli during the landings, where especially the Anzac will be wanting to assault hexes just to suppress the opportunity fire. Once that German regiment has completed its movement, then we resolve all the assaults. So let's resolve an assault. So we look at the assault table. We have 3 Germans on the attack and 1 on the defense. So we go across to the 3 and we look at down to the 1, which is here. Then we look at the shift table. The defender is in farmland, so that's 1 shift left, and we're into that square there. So now let's look at the chart. We're in this cell, 3 to 1, but we have 1 shift to the left for the farmland, which takes us down to the 2.5 to 1 column. As you can see, a roll of 49 up to 0 to 49 will cause 1 step on the defender. That's the D column. 50 to 65, the base take a step loss. 66 plus and the attacker takes a step loss. So we roll and we get a 68, which means the Germans take a step loss. Roll and roll, 0-7, they're fine. At this point, both sides have a chance to retreat the attacker first. The Germans want the hex, so they're not retreating. The British want to keep it, so they're not. So we move to round 2. The Germans only have 2, so we start in the 2-to-1 box, but this, when terrain no longer applies, it only applies for the first round, or the first 2 rounds if there's barbed wire. So we roll again, and we get a 23, which is in the 0 to 44 band. So the defender takes a step loss. That kills the remaining British step, and the Germans take the hex.